This project, it isn't so much a project. It's more like a labor of love. Um, for one of the cats who those in the know view as a visionary, a genius guitar player, um, really genius songwriter, just all around genius. Period. I call him a genius. And in this case, he just also turns out to be a brother and friend to just about everybody that played on this track. Um, it kind of goes back to say maybe a year and a half ago. We were doing shows called the Million Man Mosh, which were benefit shows um, for another brother of ours, Ronnie Drayton. And after we'd done the first one, um, Jeff Lee Johnson had reached out to Ronnie and said that if we did a second one, he would like to participate. I discovered Jeff in somewhere in the mid '90s. I'd actually gone to a show, and he was playing guitar with Rochelle Farrell. I already knew what she was going to do, but I had no idea that the guitar player was going to destroy me. And I sat and I watched the set, and I kept saying, "Who is this dude? Who is this guy? Who is this guy?" And finally, they played a song called "I Forgive You," and I wound up. I had goosebumps. Um, and when she finally announced the name of all the band members, she called him the Emperor Jeff Lee Johnson, and I wrote it on my hand. So I go back home, and I wound up going backwards, only to discover there had been this really unbelievable 6 degrees of separation between people that I'd known since, say, 86, 87. Cat Peter Weatherby, who wound up being the guy who actually signed Jeff to his first deal and put out Jeff's first solo record. Peter and I had gone back to 86, 87. He was a press agent for Spies when our first record came out in 89. But somehow along the way, I don't know when that connection got made, but I missed it. So me going backwards, I start realizing just how genius this guy is. And by the time we got around to talking about doing the second Million Man Mosh, Ronnie Drayton had asked me, did I know Jeff? And I said, I know of, but I don't know. And Ronnie said, well, why don't we give him a call? And we called. And it was just really, just real. Jeff had a real acerbic, dry, sharp wit. Um, could cut without words. That's how deep it was. You know, he could just go, and you feel like, oh, God, that hurt. But the conversation wound up being a wonderful thing. And from that point forward, Jeff and I had built this really crazy brotherhood. Um, so we constantly talk, yada, 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 this, that, and the other. Um, by the time we got around to discussing the show, which was going to be January 20th of 2013, um, he had decided that he was going to come and play New York in December of 2012. And luckily for me, I went to the show. But I went there really just to kind of, I needed to see him. We'd spent the better part of a year and a half talking, but we'd never been in the same room. And what I found out that at that point was he had known about my band since 1989, which blew me away. I didn't know he knew. Um, but everybody in the room was like, you got to be kidding. This can't be the first time you guys have actually met. That's how deep the vibe was. Um, so we plotted and planned on doing the show. Um, he was going to come and play with our band, my band, and we were going to do his song, Jungle. Um, about the week prior to the show, he got ill, wasn't feeling well. We thought it was something he would kind of shake off. Didn't make the show, and maybe about a week after the show, he passed away. And it left a really big hole um, in a lot of us. because we lost a brother. Um, those in the industry who knew of Jeff's genius uh, pretty much felt the same way. And it was almost an insult and a slap in the face that the overall guitar community um, failed to mention his passing and didn't acknowledge his genius. And if you didn't know him, say, as a solo artist, you could have looked at his discography and you would have been taken aback by just how much this man had actually done. Um, but the day he passed, I had really deep conversations with Ronnie Drayton, Eddie Martinez, Vernon Reed, and Jesse Johnson. And they were all varying degrees of Jeff stories, um, which ranged from Ronnie, who had known Jeff for the better part of maybe almost 30 years, to Vernon, who had played in and around. They played together for years as well, known each other. To Jesse, who had played with Jeff with Shaka Khan and also with D'Angelo. And then there was Eddie, who Jeff and he had never met, but they both loved each other's work over the years and were looking forward to meeting at the show, and it didn't happen. So the conversations really kind of didn't make things easy to deal with, but made things easier to deal with. So we moved forward, and I started to think about what could we do, or what could I do to honor Jeff. And the best thing that I could come up with was to do the song that we were going to do together. But then I thought it would be even cooler to do it, asking the guys that I had the conversations with to come and drop solos on it. So I asked everybody if they would. Everybody said yes. Then we got blessed with Lenny White, who yelled at me ever so gently because I hadn't decided on a drummer, and he was like, "Who do you think is better suited to play on this track?" I was like, "Well, excuse me, would you like to play?" So we got Lenny White to play drums. We got Chico Huff on bass, who was Jeff's bass player. Amazing cat. And then we have Rick Skater, bassist for 24/7 Spies, who also plays a solo on the joint. And then it's a guitar thing. You know, Ronnie Drayton, Eddie Martinez, Vernon Reed, Jesse Johnson, and myself. And that's how we arrive at this, you know. So I kind of dubbed it the Jungle for Jeff Sessions, you know, literally. That's what it is. So it's a labor of love. It's the best way I can think of saying thank you to a guy who's changed my life. And I miss him. Actually, we all do. And that's the reason why we're doing this. So, and hopefully anybody who doesn't know will be intrigued enough to want to know. Because if y'all dig this, go check the real cat, and you'll be glad you did. This is Jeff's 1973 Strat that he named Mildred, and I'm unbelievably honored that she's part of my arsenal. I'd seen the guitar go through a whole lot of changes over the time he's had it, and it was always like a work in progress. Jeff was always in search of tones, so I watched pickups change. It just was a constant evolution type thing. But the guitar remained this way probably for the last 5 years of his life, and he had played it as late as December 2012 when he was touring with Esperanza Spalding. She showed up at my door summer of 2013, and it was a real bittersweet thing. I was glad to get her, but I'd rather have Jeff. So but it's cool. He lives through this, and as long as I play it, I'm good.